The zipper of the tent ripped open like a scream in the dead of night, and there he was, my stepson Hunter, silhouetted against the moonlit pines, his breath ragged, eyes wild with something I couldn't name. "Thomas, I can't pretend anymore," he whispered, his voice cracking like thunder over the Rockies, as rain began to lash the canvas above us. In that instant, the fragile walls of our shared silence shattered, pulling me into a confession that would unravel the life we'd both been faking since the day I said, "I do," to his mother. I never meant to become the man who buried his regrets under the weight of a wedding band. It was 2012, the summer after Obama's re-election, when America felt like it was cracking open its closets just a little wider, and I, Thomas Hale, a 38-year-old architect from Denver, fell hard for Elena Vargas. She was a force, fiery, with laugh lines that mapped out her battles as a single mom and a laugh that could disarm a room full of blueprints. Hunter was 14 then, all gangly limbs and guarded stares, the kind of kid who'd inherited his dad's brooding from some ghost Elena rarely spoke of. He'd lost his father to a car wreck when he was 8, and Elena had rebuilt their world in the shadow of that grief. When we met at a community art fair in Lodo, her selling handmade pottery, me sketching urban renewals, she saw right through my polished suits to the boy from rural Kansas who'd fled Bible Belt whispers about who he really loved. Our wedding was small, up in the mountains near Boulder, with craft beers and wildflowers instead of rice. Hunter stood there in a too-big button-down, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Welcome to the family, Tom," he'd muttered, shaking my hand like it was a business deal. I wanted to hug him, to bridge the gap, but he flinched just enough to make me back off. Elena chalked it up to teenage hormones, but I knew better. Kids like Hunter didn't trust easy, especially not a stepdad who showed up with a toolbox and a smile. We settled into a rhythm in our craftsman house on the edge of the city. Me designing sustainable homes for eco-conscious millennials, Elena teaching pottery classes, Hunter navigating high school with a skateboard under one arm and earbuds blasting indie rock in the other. It was the American dream, repackaged. Blended family, weekend barbecues, the Rockies as our backyard. But dreams have fault lines. Elena's cancer hit like a derailleur snapping mid-climb, aggressive, stage 4, pancreatic. She fought like hell, chemo turning her into a warrior etched in scarves and 4 drips. But by 2018, the doctor's talks shifted from treatment to time. Hunter was 20 then, home from his first year at CU Boulder, majoring in environmental science because the planet's fucked, might as well try to fix it. He'd bulked up from campus hikes, his once lanky frame filling out with quiet muscle, but his eyes carried the same storm clouds. Elena made us promise, no pity parties, no hovering. "Live messy," she'd say, her voice a rasp over hospital jello. "That's how you honor the cracks." She slipped away in early spring, cherry blossoms mocking us from the branches outside the hospice window. The funeral was a blur of casseroles from neighbors and Elena's artist friends toasting her with mezcal in paper cups. Hunter and I stood side by side at the graveside, the wind whipping off the front range, and for the first time he leaned into me. Just a shoulder brush, but it felt like absolution. "Thanks for being here," he said, voice thick. I nodded, throat too tight for words, thinking how we both lost the glue holding our jagged edges together. The months after were a slow unraveling. I threw myself into work, sketching high rises that pierced the Denver skyline like accusations. Hunter dropped out of school, citing burnout, but I saw the truth in his hollow cheeks and late-night drives. Grief's ugly cousin, depression, gnawing at him. Our house echoed with absence. Elena's pottery was silent in the garage, her laughter a ghost in the kitchen. We'd eat takeout in front of the TV, Broncos games or documentaries on national parks, exchanging small talk like civilians in a truce. "How's the firm?" he'd ask. "Bills paid," I'd reply. It was functional but fractured. I missed her fire, but more than that, I missed the boy Hunter had been before loss carved him hollow. That's why, when summer rolled around in 2025, July heat shimmering off the asphalt like a bad omen, I suggested the trip. "Rocky Mountain National Park," I said over lukewarm coffee one morning. A week of trails, no screens. Just us, like Elena always wanted. He eyed me over his mug, that familiar wariness flickering. "You sure you can keep up, old man?" There it was, the tease, the deflection. But he agreed, packing his backpack with the efficiency of someone who'd mapped every escape route. We drove up in my old Subaru Outback, the one Elena had dubbed the faithful beast. Windows down, NPR fading into static as the city gave way to foothills. The air thickened with pine and possibility, Moraine Park's meadows stretching like a green promise under Trail Ridge Road. Our route was ambitious. 8 miles a day, summits that tested lungs and resolve. Hunter navigated with an app on his phone, pointing out elk herds and wildflower bursts, Columbine nodding like purple secrets. For the first few days, it worked. We'd hike in companionable silence, break for PB and JS at overlooks where the world dropped away in jagged blues. Evenings around a crackling fire, he'd strum his guitar, soft covers of Bon Iver and Fleet Foxes, while I whittled sticks into nothing. "Remember that time Mom made us camp in the backyard?" he'd say, flames dancing in his eyes. I'd laugh, the sound rusty. "Yeah, and the raccoons stole the s'mores." But on night 3, as thunderheads brewed over Long's Peak, the sky split open. We scrambled for camp, the tent our only fortress against the deluge. It was a 2-man rig, barely enough space for gear and egos, but with the storm raging, sharing was non-negotiable. We stripped off soaked layers down to thermals, the air between us humming with unspoken dampness. Hunter zipped the flap, lantern light casting long shadows on the nylon walls. "Cozy," he muttered, unrolling his sleeping bag inches from mine. I chuckled, trying to ignore the way his damp hair curled at his neck, the rise and fall of his chest syncing with the rain's rhythm. Sleep came fitful, interrupted by lightning cracks that lit his face in stark relief. High cheekbones inherited from Elena, jaw set like his father's ghost. Around 2 a.m., the zipper tore open, and he bolted upright, gasping like he'd surfaced from drowning. "Hunter? You okay?" My voice was groggy, hand reaching out instinctively. He caught it midair, grip fierce, eyes locking on mine in the dim glow. "Thomas, I can't pretend anymore." The words hung, heavy as the storm outside, and in that suspended breath, I saw it. Not grief, not fear, but a raw, aching truth that had been brewing since the day we met. His hand trembled in mine, calluses from guitar strings rough against my palm. "What do you mean?" I whispered, heart thudding like boots on scree. He pulled away, curling into himself, knees to chest. "Everything. This family we tried to glue back together. It's all been a lie." The rain hammered harder, drowning the world beyond the tent, leaving only his voice, a low, fractured confession spilling out like floodwater. I sat up, the sleeping bag pooling around my waist, the air between us electric. "Hunter, talk to me, please." He'd always been the strong one, the kid who bottled storms until they erupted in slammed doors or solitary hikes. But tonight, with thunder as witness, he broke. "Mom dying gutted me, but you, God, Thomas, you've been this constant, this anchor I didn't know I needed. And I started feeling things, wrong things, for you." The words landed like a rock slide, burying me under their weight. My mind reeled. Flashes of shared glances over dinner, the way he'd linger in the garage while I fixed the truck, his laugh syncing with mine during late-night movies. I chalked it up to bonding, to healing. But now, in the tense confines, it crystallized. The pull, the unspoken current that had hummed beneath our fragile normalcy. "Hunter," I started, voice cracking. "I'm your stepdad. We can't." "I know." He cut me off, frustration etching lines on his young face. "That's the betrayal, isn't it? The one I've been carrying. Pretending I was just grieving, just lost. But it's more. It's you, the way you look at the stars like they're blueprints for hope. The way you fixed Mom's will even when your hands shook. You're the only one who's seen me, really seen me, since Dad died. And it terrifies me because I'm gay, Thomas. Have been since high school. And the one person I shouldn't want is the one who makes me feel alive." The admission hung there, raw and revolutionary, as lightning forked the sky. I thought of my own buried truths, The college fling in Lawrence, Kansas, cut short by small-town shame. The marriages I'd forced to fit a heteronormative mold before Elena, who knew fragments but never the full fracture. She'd loved me wholly, but this part of me had stayed locked in the attic of my soul. "Hunter," I said softly, reaching for him again, this time not pulling back when he leaned in. "You're not alone in that terror." We talked through the night, voices weaving with the storm's fury. He spoke of crushes hidden in locker room glances, of coming out to a single friend at CU only to ghost them after. I shared my whispers. The ex-boyfriend's name, Mark, lost to AIDS in the 90s. The guilt of never fully grieving him before Elena. I thought burying it made me better for her, for you, I admitted. But it just made me half a man. Dawn crept in, gray light filtering through the mesh, and with it came a fragile peace. No kisses, no lines crossed. Just hands clasped, stories traded like talismans against the isolation. The hike out that morning was cathartic. Mud sucking at our boots. The air scrubbed clean by rain. We summit Deer Mountain in silence, the vista unfolding like forgiveness. Endless peaks rolling to the horizon, a bald eagle wheeling overhead. At the top, Hunter pulled a crumpled photo from his pack. Elena, mid-laugh, arms around us both at that backyard camp years ago. "She knew, didn't she?" he said. "About me. About whatever this is." I nodded, throat tight. She had a way of knowing without saying. Told me once, "Love doesn't follow maps, Tom. It carves its own trails." Back home, the confession lingered like high-altitude haze. Days blurred into tentative normalcy, Hunter re-enrolling at CU part-time. Me pitching a green community center that echoed Elena's ethos. But the undercurrent pulled, undeniable. We'd catch eyes across the breakfast table, a brush of shoulders in the hallway sparking like static. It was romantic in its restraint, emotional in its depth. A slow-burn dance around the precipice of taboo. Then came the betrayal, sharp as a switchback drop. It was late August, a client dinner in Vail derailed by a call from Hunter's aunt. Elena's sister, Rosa, the family matriarch who'd always eyed me with suspicion. "Thomas, we need to talk," she said, voice steel over the line. "Hunter's been reaching out. About things. Unnatural things. My blood iced." Turns out, in his vulnerability post-confession, Hunter had confided in her during a visit. Fragments of his truth, my name tangled in the threads. Rosa, devout Catholic with a rosary wound heart, saw sin where we saw survival. She rallied the family. Cousins, uncles, the whole Vargas clan descending on our doorstep like a tribunal. They arrived unannounced, a convoy of sedans clogging the driveway. Rosa at the helm with Bible in hand and accusations on her lips. "You've poisoned him, Thomas. Turned our boy against God. Against his blood." Hunter stood frozen in the doorway, face ashen, while I shielded him with an arm. "This isn't poison." I shot back, voice steady despite the quake inside. "It's love. Messy human love. Elena built this home on grace, not judgment." The argument spilled onto the lawn. Shouts echoing off the neighbor's picket fence. Tears carving rivers down Hunter's cheeks. Rosa's betrayal cut deepest. She'd promised confidentiality, then weaponized it to save him, dragging in a priest and therapist spouting conversion rhetoric. Hunter shattered that night, packing a duffel with trembling hands. "I can't stay here, Thomas. Not if it means losing them all." The conflict tore at me. Loyalty to Elena's memory warring with the pull of this new, fragile bond. "Then go," I said, heart splintering. "But know this, you're not broken. You're the bravest man I know." He paused at the door, rain starting again, mirroring that tent night. "What about us?" A whisper, laced with longing. I cupped his face, thumb tracing his jaw, romantic, restrained. "We'll find our way. Trails always do." He left for Rosa's, a temporary exile, and the house echoed emptier than after Elena. Days turned to weeks of voicemails. Hunter's voice cracking with doubt, mine steady with resolve. I dove into advocacy, volunteering with local LGBTQ+ centers, channeling our pain into purpose. Denver's queer scene welcomed me back like a prodigal. Coffee clatches at Brothers, hikes without their Colorado. It was humanistic redemption, turning personal fracture into communal strength. The climax crested in October, leaves aflame on the aspens. Hunter called, voice urgent. Meet me at the Overlook, the one from the trip. I drove through twilight, heart pounding like a drumline at a pride march. He was there, silhouette against the fiery sunset, duffel at his feet. I told them everything, he said, eyes fierce. Stood up to Rosa, to the whole damn family. Said if they couldn't love me as I am, including this pull between us, they weren't family at all. The betrayal had forged him. Conflict alchemized into courage. We stood inches apart, the chasm bridged by shared breath. And you? He asked, vulnerability raw. I took his hand, the world narrowing to that touch. I've spent too long mapping safe paths. Time to carve the real one. No grand gestures, just a lean in. A forehead-to-forehead press, tears mingling, the Rockies bearing witness. It was romantic in its quiet profundity, emotional in its earned grace. The ending unfolded humanely, without fairy tale gloss. Hunter moved back, boundaries drawn like trail markers. Therapy sessions together, separate rooms, time to unpack the layers. We rebuilt the home Elena envisioned, not as stepfather and son, but as two men navigating love's uncharted wilds. Holidays brought tentative truces. Rosa's apology letter arriving like a olive branch. Family dinners laced with awkward but growing acceptance. America, in its vast, flawed tapestry, made space for us. Pride flags waving in the mile-high city, trails where confessions bloom into something enduring. In the end, it wasn't about perfection. It was about the hike, the stumbles, the summits, the shared tent where truths finally unzipped. And in that broken home, we'd found our forever. As autumn deepened, the aspen's gold gave way to winter's hush, blanketing Denver in a quiet that mirrored our tentative new rhythm. Hunter and I settled into a deliberate dance. Mornings with black coffee and unspoken understandings. Evenings where we'd pore over trail maps, planning escapes to the San Juans or the Black Canyon. It wasn't the fiery romance of novels, with stolen kisses under street lamps. It was deeper, rooted in the soil of shared loss, watered by confessions that had cracked us open. He'd enrolled full-time at CU again, channeling his environmental passion into a thesis on climate resilience in the Rockies, while I mentored young architects at the firm, emphasizing designs that breathe with the land, like people should with each other. But peace, I've learned, is just the calm before the next ridge. The betrayal from Rosa lingered like frostbite, numbing edges we thought healed. It surfaced in small ways. Hunter's flinch at family mentions, my reluctance to host gatherings. Then, in November, the axe fell literally in the form of an eviction notice from our past. The house, Elena's pride, had been under a reverse mortgage she'd taken for her treatments, a secret she'd buried to shield us from worry. Now, with payments lapsed in grief's fog, the bank called due. Foreclosure in 60 days. The letter read, cold as a lender's ledger. We sat at the kitchen table, Elena's old oak scarred from pottery sessions, staring at the paper like it was a death warrant. This place, it's all we have left of her, Hunter said, voice hollow, fingers tracing the wood grain. I reached across, squeezing his hand, the contact a lifeline. It's bricks and beams, kid. Mom's in the memories, not the mortgage. But inside, panic clawed. Selling meant scattering. Me to a condo downtown, him back to dorms or worse, Rosa's judgmental fold. The conflict reignited, old wounds suppurating. Was our fragile bond strong enough to weather this storm, or would it snap like a guy line in gale? That night, we drove to the Overlook again, the city lights twinkling below like distant campfires. Hunter leaned on the hood, breath fogging the air. I can't lose this, Thomas. Not after everything. His words carried double weight, the house, us. I pulled him close, arms wrapping in a hug that blurred lines but honored them. We won't. We'll fight. It was a vow, romantic in its defiance, humanistic in its grit. American as apple pie and bailouts, we turned to the system, Lawyers, appeals, community funds. Elena's art circle rallied, auctioning her pieces for a Vargas legacy drive. Pottery fetching bids from tearful friends, raising enough for a down payment on a modest cabin outside Netherland. The move was chaos incarnate. Boxes labeled in Hunter's scrawl, my sketches taped to walls like talismans. The new place was smaller, a A-frame with views of pine-cloaked hills, but it felt like rebirth. We hung Elena's favorite vase on a shelf, its curves catching morning light. To new trails, Hunter toasted with craft IPAs on move-in night, clinking bottles with a grin that reached his eyes. Laughter returned, tentative at first, then full-throated, over burnt pancakes, during snowball fights in the yard. Intimacy grew in layers. A hand on his back during movie nights, his head on my shoulder as we watched Ken Burns documentaries on public TV. It was emotional scaffolding, building toward something profound without rushing the peak. Winter holidays tested us. Thanksgiving brought Rose's olive branch, an invitation, laced with "let's heal" caveats. Hunter agonized, pacing the cabin's creaky floors. What if it's a trap? More sermons. I sat him down by the fire, flames crackling like unspoken fears. Go if you want, but know I'm proud of you, rain or shine. He went, returning with war stories. Tense silences broken by a cousin's hug, Rose's teary admission of her own regrets. A loveless marriage, unspoken longings. She said sorry, he told me, collapsing onto the couch. For real this time. We celebrated with takeout turkey, toasting to imperfect forgiveness, the betrayal's scar fading to a faint line. Christmas was ours alone. A tree strung with Elena's handmade ornaments, Bing Crosby crooning on the radio. Hunter gifted me a leather-bound journal, pages blank for your next chapter. I gave him a custom topo map of our hiking routes, hearts etched at key campsites. That night, snow falling soft outside, we talked late, dreams of through hiking the Colorado Trail, of him leading eco-tours, me designing off-grid retreats. His hand found mine, lingering, and in that touch, the romance deepened. Not carnal, but connective, two souls aligning like constellations. Spring thawed more than the ground. CU's campus bloomed, and Hunter thrived, joining the Queer Alliance, organizing a panel on grief and identity in the queer West. I attended, sitting in the back, heart swelling as he spoke. Loss doesn't define us. It refines us. Like a river carving canyons, it makes space for truth. Applause thundered, but his eyes sought mine, a private summit. Afterward, over campus burritos, he confessed, that was for Mom, for us. The emotion swelled, tears pricking. Loving him felt like breathing after drowning. Yet conflict simmered anew. In April, a letter arrived from an old flame, mine, Mark's sister, reaching out after decades. He left journals, she wrote, about you. Thought you should know he never stopped. The package held faded pages. Entries from '92, Mark's cursive spilling love and loss, AIDS's shadow looming. Reading them alone in the cabin, I broke. Sobs racking, grief delayed crashing like an avalanche. Hunter found me, curled on the floor, and without a word, held me through it. Let it out, he murmured, his strength a bomb. That night, we shared stories by candlelight, Mark's laugh, the road trips, the what-ifs. It was intimate, healing, his presence mending fractures I'd ignored. Summer beckoned with promise. We planned another trip, Yosemite this time, a nod to Elena's wanderlust. Packing the Subaru, Hunter joked, no tents this year? Or should we risk it? I laughed, the sound free. Only if you promise no midnight monologues. But beneath the banter, anticipation hummed. The trail as metaphor for us, each step a commitment. The drive west was soundtrack to our evolution. Playlists mixing Johnny Cash and Hozier, pit stops at diners where waitresses called us, you too. Arriving in the valley, El Capitan loomed like a challenge accepted. We hiked Mist Trail, mist veiling us in rainbows, Upper Yosemite Falls roaring approval. Campsites brought fireside ease. Hunter's guitar serenading the sequoias. My stories of Kansas boyhood drawing parallels to his. We're both runaways, huh? he said one dusk, embers glowing. Found our way here. The romance was in the quiet. Shared thermoses of cocoa. A blanket-draped shoulder lean under stars vast as possibility. On day 4, atop half-dome. Cables slick with sweat, views eternity, we paused, breath sinking. Thomas, he said, voice wind-whipped. I love you, not as family. Everything. The confession echoed our tent night. Evolved. Heart full, I replied. And I you. Let's build this slow and true. No kiss, but a handclasp over the abyss. Dramatic, emotional, a pinnacle. Descending, storm clouds gathered, mirroring inner tempests. Back at camp, thunder rolled, and Hunter tensed, old fears surfacing. What if it all crumbles again? I pulled him close, tent unzipped to the elements. Then we rebuild. Together. Rain fell, washing doubts, leaving clarity. Homeward. The Sierras fading in the rear view, we carried summit strength. The broken home? Repaired. Not perfect. Cracks gold-veined with kintsugi grace. Humanistic, yes. 2 men, loving against odds, trails unending. Fall crept back, leaves crunching underfoot like whispered secrets, as our life in the cabin solidified into something resembling permanence. Hunter's thesis defense loomed, a high-stakes presentation on rewilding urban edges, infused with Elena's artistic soul. I watched him rehearse in the living room, pacing with slides on his laptop, passion lighting his face like dawn on snow. You're gonna kill it, I'd say, brewing tea strong as his resolve. Those nights, after he'd crash exhausted, I'd sketch by lamplight. Not buildings, but us. Abstract lines capturing the curve of his smile, the angle of his brow in thought. It was my quiet romance, pixels of emotion on paper. But the universe, ever the dramatist, scripted conflict from complacency. October brought a ghost from Hunter's past. Not Rose's kin, but worse. An ex, Jordan, from his closet days at CU. They'd dated freshman year. A fumbling affair born of shared dorm walls and hidden hurts. Jordan had outed himself publicly, become an activist poster boy, but the breakup left Hunter scarred. Accusations of not committed enough. Echoes of his father's abandonment. Now, Jordan emailed. Heard you're playing house with your stepdad. Denver's talking. Careful, scandals stick. Attached were screenshots, whispers from queer forums, speculation spun from our Pride photo op, Hunter's arm casual around my waist. Hunter's face drained when he showed me, over breakfast burritos gone cold. It's out there. Twisted. The betrayal stung fresh, not just exposure, but the world's gaze warping our private truth into tabloid fodder. Let them talk, I said, but inside, fear coiled. My firm, conservative clients, his academic advisors, whispers of nepotism or worse. Conflict brewed, emotional tempests. Hunter withdrew, skipping alliance meetings, doubting our path. What if I'm ruining you? He'd murmur at night, back turned in the queen bed we'd started sharing. Platonic, but charged. I refused surrender. We hiked Mount Falcon that weekend, autumn palette ablaze, to reclaim ground. At the summit, wind whipping, I turned to him. This isn't scandal. It's survival. Love like ours. It's the human story, messy and mine. He searched my eyes, then nodded, tears wind-streaked. Okay, but we face it together. Romance in resilience. That night, by cabin fire, we drafted a joint post for his Insta, subtle, strong. Grief taught us to love boldly. No apologies. Likes poured in, allies outweighing trolls, a digital trail of support. The climax of this chapter crested mid-November, Jordan's shadow lengthening into confrontation. He showed at a CU Queer Lit reading Hunter headlined, Poems on Loss, Elena's Influence Woven in Verse. I sat front row, pride swelling, until intermission. Jordan cornering Hunter by the podium, voice low but venomous. This stepdaddy kink? Pathetic. You'll crash like we did. Hunter's reply was steel. We crashed because you needed a stage, not a partner. Thomas? He's home. I rose then, joining them calm as a keystone. Walk away, Jordan. Story's over. Security escorted him out, but the damage? Emotional shrapnel. After, in the Subaru racing home through sleet, Hunter shattered. He called us a kink. Like it's cheap. I pulled over at a pullout, lights blurring passersby. It's not. It's profound. The deepest connection I've known. I held him as sobs came, humanistic catharsis. Vulnerability as victory. Home, we burned sage, Elena swore by, cleansing the air, then talked till dawn. Jordan's wounds are strengths. Betrayal's his, not ours, Hunter said, emerging resolute. Winter wove warmth from the rift. Holidays healed further. Rosa visited the cabin, bearing tamales and a tentative hug for Hunter, eyes soft on our joined hands. Elena's light in you both, she whispered. No sermons, just stories. Her own hidden pains. A bridge built on mutual humanity. We hosted a solstice gathering. Queer friends from the center, carols twisted with drag flair, laughter echoing off rafters. Hunter shone, reading his thesis abstract by firelight, my arm around him a quiet anchor. New Year dawned crisp, resolutions whispered over champagne. More trails, deeper truths. Hunter's defense aced, professors praising his nuanced humanity. Earning a fellowship for grad work. I landed a commission. A LGBTQ plus youth center in Aurora. Designs curving like open arms. Success sweetened romance. Spontaneous dates. A jazz night at Dazzle. Hands intertwined under tablecloths. Stargazing in the yard. His head on my lap. Dreams shared like meteors. Spring surged with renewal. We planted Elena's columbine in the cabin garden. Bulbs pushing through soil like hope. Hunter's fellowship meant field research in the San Juans, weeks apart testing our bond. Letters bridged the gap, mine, typed on firm stationery, romantic musings on architecture as metaphor for us. His, scrawled on napkins from trail stops, emotional dispatches from solitude. Miss your steady, he'd write. Hurry home, I'd reply. Reunion at Durango Station. Arms crushing, kisses held in check but eyes promising. Summer called us east, to the Appalachians, a loop through Shenandoah and Great Smoky Mountains, Elena's ancestral pull. The drive was epic, podcasts on queer history fueling debates. Stonewall's fire, Milk's legacy. Trails tested us, switchbacks steep as doubts, waterfalls veiling reflections. One eve, by Cades Cove fire, Hunter confessed deeper. Jordan made me doubt, but you make me believe in forever. Emotional peak. I pulled him close, foreheads touching. Then let's etch it in stone. Storm hit on 4 Mile Ridge, gales howling, tent straining. Huddled, we laughed through fear, hands linked. Like our first, he said. Only better. Dawn broke clear, summit views affirming. Love's panorama, endless. Back west, cabin waiting, we integrated scars. Community grew. Mentoring at the center, Hunter co-leading hikes for queer youth, trails to self. Betrayals faded, conflicts composted into growth. Humanistic arc. From broken to blooming, romance in the roots. As leaves turned again, our rhythm felt eternal. Yet time's current tugged insistent. Hunter's grad apps looming. My firm's expansion eyeing California outposts. The cabin, once refuge, whispered of change. Walls closing or expanding. We hiked Indian peaks, golden larches framing lakes like mirrors, discussing futures over trail mix. What if Portland calls? He ventured, voice laced with adventure's thrill. I paused, boot in creek. Then we go. Together. Romance's promise. Not possession, but partnership. Trails diverging only to reconverge. Conflict brewed from abundance. December brought acclaim. Hunter's paper published in an eco-journal. Lauded for human-centered sustainability. Invites flooded. TEDx Boulder. Panels in Seattle. Mine too. AIA Awards for the Youth Center. Spotlighting inclusive design. Pride swelled, but so did pressure. An interview for Outfront magazine arrived. Blended queer family, from step to soulmates, probing our story. Hunter balked. They'll sensationalize. Make it clickbait. The betrayal echo. World's lens distorting intimacy. Or empower, I countered. Show it's possible. We compromised, a podcast instead, intimate as a fireside chat. Recording in the cabin, mics catching crackles, we shared raw. The tent, losses, loves. It's not taboo, Hunter said, voice steady. It's triumph. Airing to acclaim, messages cascaded. You gave me courage. Humanistic ripple. Our fracture fueling floods of light. But climax loomed personal. January gale buried the cabin in drifts. Power out. Isolation amplifying doubts. Huddled by wood stove, candles flickering, Hunter cracked. Success scares me. What if we drift? Like mom and dad's ghost. Emotional deluge. Abandonment specter. I stoked flames, then him, arms enveloping. We're anchors, not drifts. Built for storms. We talked origins. My Kansas closets, his dad's wreck tales from Elena. Dawn brought clarity. Snow sculpted into forts. Playful reclaiming. Spring unfurled opportunities. Hunter accepted UW-Madison's program. Wisconsin's lakes calling. Queer scene vibrant. Come, he asked, tentative. Conflict internal. My firm rooted in Denver. Elena's ashes scattered here. Trial run, I proposed. Summer sabbatical. Sublet the cabin. Test the tundra. Drive north was Odyssey. Badlands bones, prairies vast. Madison welcomed. Lakefront apartment, Hunter's lab buzzing. I freelanced remotely. Designs for Midwest co-ops. Romance rekindled in new soil. Bike paths along the Yahara. Picnics where he sketched ecosystems. I mapped homes. Fits, he said one dusk, hand in mine. Yet betrayal nipped. Firm partners pressuring return. Can't lead from afar. Loyalty warred with love. Climax crested June at a Wisconsin pride. Parade floats rainbowing State Street. Hunter marching with grad cohort. I watched, then joined, our hands linking amid cheers. Post-march, a heckler spat slurs. Freak steps, echoing Jordan's venom. Hunter froze, but I stepped forward. Love's no freak show. It's the main event. Crowd applauded, but home he unraveled. Why us? Always the targets. I held him through night, humanistic solace. Because we're visible, and that's power. Resolution bloomed. I resigned partnership, went solo, Hail Designs virtual viable. Trails lead where they will, I told the old guard. Hunter's program thrived. Us co-teaching a seminar, Queer Ecologies of Home. Emotional depth. Building not just structures but souls. Fall returned east. Appalachian redux but chosen. Shenandoah's mists cloaked milestones. Hunter's proposal for fieldwork in the Smokies. My commission for a queer artist residency there. Synchronicity, he grinned. Tent nights whispered confessions anew. Dreams of adoption. Legacy beyond blood. Romance refined. Kisses chaste but charged. Touches mapping trust. Winter in Madison was wonder. Ice skating on frozen lakes. Cocoa-fueled debates on policy. Rosa visited, thawing fully, knitting scarves, sharing Vargas lore. Your family, she affirmed, hugging tight. Betrayals buried. Conflicts compost. Spring's surge. Hunter's first conference. DC bound. I tagged monuments mirroring resolve. Panel Q&A turned tense. Questioner probing taboo dynamics. Hunter's reply. Love transcends labels. It's the ethic that endures. Applause thundered. After, hotel bar toasts to tenacity. Summer looped south, Smokies base camp. His research tented amid biodiversity. I assisted logging data, designs for eco-lodges. Storms came, tents shared echoes, evolutions. Forever's looking good, he murmured, hand over heart. Homeward, Midwest to mountains, cabin reclaimed seasonally. Humanistic harmony. Lives intertwined, trails infinite, brokenness mended in mutual mending. Years layered like sedimentary rock. Our story stratifying into legend. Personal, not public. By 2028, Hunter defended his dissertation, PhD in hand, title, Resilient Roots, Queer Narratives in American Landscapes. Ceremony in Madison's crisp air, cap tassel swaying. I beamed from seats, Elena's vase charm on my lapel. Reception. Toasts to the trailblazer and his muse. Laughter flowing freer than Mississippi mud. What's next, Doc? I asked later, slow dancing in our apartment to Coltrane. World. With you. Romance's horizon. Endless, earned. Conflict, inevitable companion. Struck from legacy's flank. Elena's 10-year memorial approached. A gathering Rosa orchestrated in Boulder, full clan reconvene. Invites arrived gilded. Honor her light, but subtext hummed. Test our permanence? Hunter paced, thesis bound. They'll judge. Still. Betrayal's aftertaste. Forgiveness fragile. We go, I decided. Show strength, not spite. Emotional prep. Therapy Zoom with our counselor, unpacking armors. Drive west was reflective. iPods shuffling Elena's playlist. Stories resurfacing. Boulder bloom changed. Hipster influx but mountains eternal. Gathering at Chautauqua. Meadows where we'd wed. Vargas kin mingled. Faces softer. Rosa embraced us. Whispering. She's proud. Speeches wove her. Hunters on her art of survival. Mine on structures of the heart. Climax hushed. Uncle's toast veering conservative. Family as God intended. Tension crackling. Hunter rose, voice meadow clear. Elena's family was intention. Love's design, not decree. Silence, then nods, humanistic pivot. Conflict diffused in candor. After, fireside with stars, Rosa pulled Hunter aside. I was wrong. About everything. Tears sealed it, betrayal transmuted to bond. We left lighter, scattering petals at her grave, Columbine thriving. Summer's gift. Sabbatical in the Smokies, his postdoc perch. Cabin there, cedar-scented, creekside. Our lab and love nest. Days. Surveys of salamanders. Metaphors for regeneration. Nights. Star charts, futures plotted. Romance deepened. A ring exchange, simple bands engraved, trail eternal. Commitment. Not ceremony, honoring complexities. Fall brought forks. UW tenure track offer for Hunter. My firm branching to Asheville. East? He queried, maps unfurled. Conflict crested, roots in Rockies versus New Ridges. Hike resolved. Great Smoky Traverse, 70 miles of deliberation. Blisters bonded. Vistas voted. Asheville. Fresh chapter. Emotional summit. Acceptance's grace. Winter in transition. Packing Madison, cabin farewells. Snow-blanketed goodbyes, friends party. Queer choir serenading. Drive south. Blue Ridge Parkway, leaves late gold. Asheville enchanted, artsy vibe. Biltmore shadows. Queer haven. Home. Victorian fixer-upper, my designs reviving it. Our blueprint. Hunter quipped, hammering beside. Spring 2029. Integrations. Hunter taught at UNCA. Environmental ethics, laced with queer lens. I consulted Youth Center Satellite here. Community embraced. Hikes with local out-group. Potlucks blending Vargas flair. Romance routine. Farmers market mornings. Hands basket-laden. Porch swings at dusk. Debates on policy. Climax domestic. Remodel reveal. Kitchen Elena-esque. Will space for Hunter's pottery nod. Surprise party. Rosa, kin, Madison transplants. Toasts tiered. From broken to built. But undercurrent. Hunter's fertility whisper. Adoption dreams surfacing. Kids? Us. Vulnerable volley. If ready, I affirmed. Emotional depth. Legacy's leap. Summer fieldwork. Cherokee lands collab. Indigenous wisdoms. Tense cultural stories shared. Queer elders' tales mirroring ours. Betrayal absent. Conflicts cultural. Navigating allyship. Hunter's paper. Decolonizing queer trails. Fall tenure. Granted. Confetti in quad. Celebration hike. Craggy gardens. Rhododendrons riot. Pinnacle, he breathed. Mine. Book deal. Homes unzipped, architecture of the heart. Winter holidays, multi-state weave, Asheville base, Boulder detour. Rosa hosted hybrid virtual kin. Family evolves, she said. Humanistic holiday, presence over perfection. Spring spark, adoption inquiry, foster to adopt seminar. Scary? Hunter asked. Thrilling. Romance's root, expanding circle. Summer loop, Rocky's return, Elena's sight pilgrimage. Tent night, confessions cycled, gratitude's loop. Changed everything, he said. You. Trails trod, home heart held, broken forever mended. Decades cusp, 2030, found us seasoned, Hunter tenured, beard flecked gray like aspen bark. Me silvered, sketches now in galleries. Asheville rooted deep, Victorian bloomed, garden Elena wild. Romance matured. Anniversaries marked by custom maps, trails retraced. Still adventuring? I tease. Always. With you. Conflict, life's plotter, plotted anew. From within. Health scare. My annual check flagged arrhythmia. Stress-induced, Doc said. Slow down, Tom. Hunter's face at news. Pale as winter moon. Can't lose you. Emotional quake. Mortality's mirror. Our hike's fragility. Therapy unpacked. Codependencies creep. Individual trails needed. Solo weekends? He suggested. Recharge. I agreed. Humanistic balance. Love space. My solo. Kansas return. Family farm faded. Brothers welcome wary. Old whispers of my phase. But fields spoke. Boyhood hides where I dreamed escape. Letters to Hunter. Roots remind. Grow toward light. His boundary water solo. Canoes and loons. Solitude sharpens us. Reunion. Airport embrace. Stories swapped like talismans. Missed your map reading, he joked. Romance renewed. Deeper. Defined by absence's ache. Climax crested autumn. Adoption match. Twin boys. 8. From system churn. Ready? Caseworker queried. Doubts swirled. Our story's complexities. Society's side-eye. Foster home phase. Chaos of Legos. Bedtime tales. Boys, Luca and Milo. Idas wary, scars from bio splits. Why you? Luca challenged. Hunter knelt. Because love finds trails. Ours led here. Emotional forge. Patience's fire. Bonds built slow, hikes to teach resilience. Kitchen clays for Elena's echo. Betrayal's ghost. Bio ants reclaim bid. Custody tug. Courtroom climax. Testimonies raw. Rosa vouching. Families chosen. Judge ruled ours. Tears sealed. Winter wonder. Official adoption. Courthouse confetti. Homecoming hike. Duplex trail. Boys backpacked. Wonder-wide eyes. Daddies. Milo tested. Hearts full. Spring's surge. Family 5. Dynamics dancing. Hunter's sabbatical. Family eco camp. Rocky's base. Tense tandem. Stories circled. Our tale sanitized for young ears. Truths teased. Love wins. Luca grasped. Summer's odyssey. Cross-country loop. Yellowstone geysers. Grand Canyon depths. Boys marveled. Bonds basalt strong. Romance sidelined but sacred. Stolen glances over campfires. Hands brushed in dark. Fall tenures. Hunter's book launch. Trails of belonging. Mine. Exhibit. Unbroken lines. Signing. Boys beamering. My dad's. Winter holidays. Megamerge Vargas in Asheville. Kansas kin venturing. Tables groaned. Tales bridged divides. Rosa doted on grands. Elena's legacy. Aging graced us. 50s for me. 30s for Hunter. Aches in joints. Joys in joints held. Conflicts crested minor. Teen teases for boys. Our retorts rooted in pride. Be you, we'd counsel. Humanistic hearth. Passing torch. Climax quiet. 20th Elena Memorial. Chautauqua full circle. Boys recited her poems. Hunter eulogized. She carved space for this. Sunset hike. Family file. hands linked. Forever changed, I whispered. Hunter nodded, eyes on horizon. Ending humanistic, not flawless but full. Broken home? Rebuilt vast. Encompassing losses, loves, lives. Trails endless, tents shared in spirit. In America's grand, gritty weave we walked on, step by step, heart by heart.